Hey church family, it's Jordan, and I'm here with a Monday morning devotional video. And this one is airing on Memorial Day. And I am having a little bit of special edition, if you will. Last week, I had a chance to speak with CJ and talk with her a little bit about her life and the faithfulness of God in her life and how that has led her to be such a faithful witness in our church. And so wanted to share that with you. It is a longer video. It's almost an hour, and so it'll take a little bit of time, but I really would encourage you to spend some time watching it. Yesterday at church, we had a chance to honor CJ and recognize the witness that she's had in our community. And I think it's such a profound testimony to the power of obedience to our Savior. So often our culture rejects the idea that we can be influential, and we can be powerful, and we can be agents of change and strong witnesses for our Savior through servanthood. It just is not something that we see really being accepted in society. And I think even often as Christians, we sometimes feel insecure in just faithful obedience to what the scripture says. And I think CJ has been such a powerful witness to our church. She's made the difference in hundreds of people's lives. She has had an impact that will outlive her. It will outlive me. And will probably outlive even some of my children because of the way that she served and loved faithfully. And she set aside her personal things, her personal life, and the things that she could have been pursuing, and instead chose to pour into this community and this family. And it's made a difference in my life. It's made a difference in my children's life. I know that they will be closer to God because of it, and I know that many of your kids will be the same way. And so there's an opportunity for her to have made an eternal impact in this world and an eternal impact in eternity through the way that she served. And so I'm really excited to share that with all of you. Again, it's worth taking the time. I wanted to read, though, before we jump into that, Mark 10:42 through 45. Bo read this yesterday, and I think it's just an excellent example of how CJ has lived out her life in this family. And I'm confident that this is how she will continue to live out her life wherever she lands. And so, Mark 10:42 through 45. And Jesus called them to him and said to them, "You know that those who are considered rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. But it shall not be so among you. But whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." CJ, you are the great one among us. You have been first among us in this community because of your service and the witness that you've given. And I am excited to see you soon in Arizona, and I'm even more excited to see the celebration of your life in heaven and the many crowns that will be given to you. I'm excited to spend eternity celebrating with you, and I'm really looking forward to that. And again, looking forward to much sooner meetings here on earth in Arizona. We'll be praying for you, praying that you are a blessing to the church that you land in, and that God blesses you here. Love you, CJ.
Yeah, okay.
All right, CJ. Again, we're chatting this morning and wanted to talk with you a little bit about your walk with Christ and just your experience as a member of our church family, and seek your encouragement and wisdom. And we know you're moving. You're going to be heading south, right? Where are you going?
To Sun City, Arizona.
Sun City, all right. And so, is there a particular date in mind, or is it sort of pending finding a landing spot, a nest for your feathers?
Well, okay. I'm going to stay at a friend's house. She's in Idaho
Okay.
for the summer. So I'm going to stay there and hunt for a nest. I need to have my own nest.
Yep.
So
you gotta be able to sprawl wherever you go.
That's right.
That's good. All right. Gotta have some place to store your gun collection.
Yes, I do have a toy. I do have a squirt gun.
Okay, all right. All right, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I wanted to start. You and I have had the opportunity to spend a lot of time together. Just we've been in small groups and been in ministry and all sorts of things like that. And you've been a real big blessing in my life and my family's life. And so I wanted to say thank you for that, and just say that it's been a real treasure and one of God's many blessings to us that you've been a part of our life, and really have enjoyed that. And then sort of reflecting on you moving, I've been just amazed at how much of an impact you've had for us. And
Not make me cry.
I'll try not to. I'm
You
trying
have
to.
blessed me more than you could possibly know. Your family and you have been a huge blessing in my life.
Well, it's glad it's been reciprocated, because it has been something that, again, I think it just is one of the beautiful things about our church family, is the chance to meet people from different walks and different paths and in different seasons, and ultimately find a new family in that, which has been just again a huge, I think, witness to the power of the church that is faithful. So I know probably a bit more about you than maybe some people in our church do. So I wanted to just sort of allow you to talk a little bit about your life, and maybe also just about the faithfulness of Christ in your life, just over time. And so I guess maybe as a question would be, can you maybe just talk a little bit about growing up, where you were born, raised, and what little CJ was like, and kind of where God has led you throughout, and how He has been faithful in your life.
Okay, I was born in Warren, Ohio, May 9th, 1942. As a little girl, I really don't know. I really don't have much memory, other than my dad was an alcoholic and he was mean. And I have, as a small child, I had one brother, and then my mom remarried, and she had two more kids, and so then there was two sisters and one brother. And boy, that husband was really mean. And from there, we moved to Southern California because of my sister's illness. And so from 14 to 16, I lived at home with with my family, and my mom had one more brother. So there's five siblings, or there's four siblings and me. There's five of us, and I'm the oldest. I got married when I was 16. I was rebellious, and I got married despite my mother.
Excellent reason to get married.
Yes, it is. My grandmother was the most influential person in my life, in that I always knew she loved me. I didn't know many times in my life that anybody else loved me. It was just my grandmother. We were in a foster home for a while, and during it was people from the church, and actually the niece that lived with the old people. We lived on a farm, which had some great experiences. It wasn't all a wonderful thing, but
yep.
It was a dairy farm. And so you got up in the morning and milked the cows, and I could milk a cow. They had milkers, but I could go in by myself and get those cows set in their proper place get the milking done if I had to. I never had to, but I could have done it. There's nothing like sitting in a cow pie. There's
I'll take your word for that.
there's I drove a tractor for baling hay. We combined wheat. It was really a pretty big farm. And they actually there was my brother and I there. My two sisters were babies and they were in two different homes. My mom worked 2 and 3 jobs at a time to take care of us. And my mom was a party girl, which I'm not putting her down for that. My mom loved us as best as she possibly could. There was never a time she didn't love us. We didn't always understand her love, I will say. So it was a rocky childhood. It was a very rocky childhood. And the only time really we went to church was during the time we were in the foster home, and we went every single Sunday. And that's actually, it was the First Evangelical and Reformed Church in Warren, Ohio. And that's actually where I took classes and I was confirmed. And that's really where I learned more about the Lord. And one of the things they told us, because when we were confirmed, we were told, when you take communion, if you don't truly believe in that the Lord Jesus Christ is your Savior, don't.
Yeah.
And it was impressive enough. It was impressed enough on me that I was very serious about it. And I did take communion. And we had to we had to memorize a Bible verse and all of this for that. But then when we moved to Southern California, my friend and I went to a Presbyterian church. And the main reason we went was because there were boys there. That's the truth.
Yeah. Another great reason to go to church.
Yes, you never missed youth group. He's there. However, I didn't go there long because I got married, because my mom told me if I didn't, I have no filter. You do know that about me, Jordan, right?
I know that about you.
Okay.
I'm eager for what comes next.
Yes. My mom told me, yeah, you're editing. My mom told me that if she didn't, that I either had to stop seeing Cotton, because I quit going to school. It was not his fault. I chose to be a rebellious brat, is what happened. And if I could either go to school and stop seeing him, or I had to be out of the house by November 1st. So I told her, if you don't sign the papers for me to get married, I'll just get pregnant first. Well, in 1958, you did not, if you lived in a respectable neighborhood, get pregnant first.
Yep.
Oh, no. So she signed the papers.
Blackmail. You're on a roll here, CJ.
So I'll tell you what, for 10 years, it was pretty rocky because I didn't know what I was doing. I was 16 and I had my first child. I wasn't quite, Scott was born in December. My birthday was in May. I think I wasn't quite 18. Okay. And because he was born 13 months after we got married.
Yeah.
And we got married November 1st. Is that right? 1958. He was born December 5th, 1959. So, yeah, 13 months.
Okay.
So that's really young. it was a child raising a child. Now,
Yep.
Kyle was 5.5 years older than I and had spent 2 years in the Army. So he was more adult than I, sort of, but he was an alcoholic.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I didn't know he was an alcoholic. I was stupid. But he worked. He was functioning. He always functioned. He always brought home the bacon.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it was just grits, but
Yeah.
So then I had a miscarriage, but he went back in the military.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to make a career. He went back in the Air Force, did not like it, said it wasn't structured enough, intended to spend his 4 years and go back into the Army.
Okay.
However, that didn't work out because the kids, particularly our son, wasn't handling him being gone well at all. I actually took him to a psychologist, and that's what the psychologist said. So he got a hardship after 3.5 years because I couldn't take the kids to a cold climate. They both had bronchial problems,
Mm-hmm.
and they could not go. So
Yeah.
he got a hardship discharge. And from there, I don't know, we bought our first house was $9,000. It wasn't very big, but it was big enough.
Where was that at?
In La Puente, California.
Okay.
And he would not leave California. So we raised our kids. We didn't want to move. We had both moved a lot as kids.
Yeah.
And didn't want to move. And so when the kids because there was a 2-year difference, Tracy was going into 7th grade, Scott was going into 9th grade, and we made a move. Mm-hmm. And the neighborhood was deteriorating rapidly. So we moved to Roland Heights. Scott was always a very interesting child. He continued to be more than interesting. He got in all kinds of trouble. Spent time, he stole our truck, he broke into the house, he broke into neighbors' houses. He was, like I said, a very interesting child. And he wound up more than one time in a juvenile camp situation. Mm-hmm. Tracy, on the other hand, learned from what her brother was doing and was straight as an arrow. Yep. And she graduated from high school in Southern California. Well, we did have an exchange student for her senior year. She wanted a sister. So we imported one. It was a great year. Yeah. And during that time, the exchange student talked us into getting a second exchange student because we had 4 bedrooms, so we had enough room. However, we did raise my niece during the time Tracy was in high school. We raised my niece from birth to 3.5. And that was an interesting time. My sister she just wasn't ready to be a mother. Yeah. She was old enough, but she just wasn't ready. And so when she did take Nicole back, she was now ready to be a mother and was an excellent mother. Yeah. So she just needed a hand during that time. And Cotton didn't see his kids during that time from about 6 months to 2 years because he was gone because I couldn't take the kids. And so he and Nicole bonded. She called him uncle, and it was great. Mm-hmm. It was just a great time in all our lives. Yeah. He had quit drinking, but when the kids were younger, we had a boat and we used to go skiing all the time, camping, trying to keep Scott away from the hood, our little neighborhood. Yep. So, like most people, it was I've had a spotty life, but I would say all around, we were really dirt poor when I was a kid, but we didn't know we were poor.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. It just was what it was. So it was okay.
Yeah.
You just know what you grew up in your surroundings. And that, did you know when you were a kid what that it should be different? No.
Yep. Yep.
It's
I guess maybe thinking about that theme. So it doesn't, I think one of the things that people sometimes struggle with their faith is things aren't easy, and their life hasn't been as good as it could be, the sort of hypothetical of what life could be like. And we sometimes struggle to reconcile our hardship and our suffering to an idea of a good God. How does a God who is love allow me to be born into a family that has a broken marriage and has an alcoholic parent, and then into another family, and then into a foster home, and then maybe make poor decisions and at the wrong time, and then have kids who have certain challenges and life circumstances that hit them. And can you speak to your perspective on that? You've been through a lot of this, and I know that we've only touched on some of it even now, but how has your view of God changed over time? And when you reflect on those circumstances, what is your perspective? What encouragement would you offer to a sister or a brother who is facing that same question today?
When I really began to read the Bible, was I have no idea where I got it. I'm sure it was a gift, but it was Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. And when we were having the problems with Scott, because see, I had somewhat of a basic while we were in the foster home, and I would get up during the night because there was a lot of worry involved in that. And I would get up during the night and get out that book. And there was one part of that book, and I could still go right to that part if I had the book in front of me. Mm-hmm. And it referred to passages in the Bible. And I would get my Bible and I would read and read and read. That's actually when I started reading the Bible. And I was that person that went to church on Easter. Mm-hmm. And on Christmas Eve, not Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. I always went to the midnight service. So I would say that was actually probably the beginning. But that was a short, in the period of my life, that was a reasonably short time.
Yeah.
But then, but then Cotton died.
Yeah.
I'm going to hurt you. We were married 22 years. So it was a good marriage, mm-hmm. ultimately. And when he passed away, the only thing that kept me from suicide was the Lord and Tracy. She didn't deserve that, number one.
Yeah.
And I screamed out to God, literally screamed, please help me, because it was the first time in my life I was totally alone. It was not, it was a hard time for me, a very hard time for me. It actually probably helped my faith. However, I still didn't go to church. And Tracy and I, Cotton would not leave California. Mm-hmm. And so Tracy and I decided, I was always trying to move him here and there. I tried to move him to Spoonhandle, Alabama. Utah, Washington, here and there and everywhere. So Tracy and I decided of all the places we had ever been that we knew someone, where would we most want to live? And my friend from high school lived in Gig Harbor,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what brought us to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I sold the house, and the same year he died March 10th, and I moved in October, so she wouldn't be alone, because our anniversary was November 1st. His birthday was November 14th. And so I didn't want her to be alone for those times. So
Yeah.
I moved up, ultimately got a job at the comm center, okay, which is 911.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the best part of that job was it had benefits and I could take care of myself. Mm-hmm. I did not like the job. I hated the job itself.
Yeah.
But it had benefits. So I was there 17 years and never did like it. I love to train. Mm-hmm. I love to train.
Yeah.
During that time, one of my really good friends was a staunch Christian. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we used to discuss the Bible all the time. I didn't go to church because, you're working Sundays. You have no
right
schedule that gives you any definite time off when you do that kind of job. You just work.
Yep.
And I would work sometimes 50, 60 hours a week. I'm greedy. So I married again. And during that time, I convinced myself that God was telling me that this would be good. Now, no, it was not. But you can convince yourself of anything. And let me tell you, God was giving me all of these definite, absolute, out in your face signs that this was not a good decision.
Everything except for the talking donkey.
Everything except for the donkey. Yes. And I did it, because, and I could not get that man to go to church to save my life, even on Christmas Eve and Easter. Mm-hmm. I got him to church one Christmas Eve. So his God was absolutely money. Mm-hmm. So he just took my paycheck out of my purse. That was how it went. Mm. Well, when I decided to leave him, because I had bought a duplex here,
yep,
and UP, and when one side emptied, I had determined when one side emptied, I was going to move into the duplex, and I did.
Yeah,
and asked for a separation and to go for counseling. And he said he went to the counselor once. He did go once, and the counselor said I was crazy. And so he turned it into a divorce, which was fine with me. And the best part of the divorce was I got my name back. I got the Ratliff name back, which was my first husband's name. I did not surname. I did not want my birth surname.
Yeah.
So I am Ratliff. So then I moved to Idaho. And when I moved to Idaho, I got a job paying a third of what I was making. And I believed with my whole heart, was all, the Lord absolutely moved me. Mm-hmm. Because it was just perchance I got this job. They said they'd wait for me for 6 months. Nobody does that. So when I went, 6 weeks after I got there, it was at a cop shop there, and I could not make the change. I just could not. It was not them, it was me. I could not make the change.
Mm.
And the welcome wagon lady, when I first moved there, had suggested this church named his place, because I tried a few churches and they just didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And she suggested his place, but she'd never been there, but she'd heard it was a really good church.
Yeah.
I went there and I plugged right in. They had classes. It was K. Arthur classes that I religiously took. And you know how I am about homework. If you give me an assignment, I won't come unprepared. So that really put me into the Bible. If you're doing K. Arthur, you're in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, I went into the nursery. From that, as a teacher, they had 2 Sundays a week, or 2 services a week. And when I went into that, I became the nursery, and it was 0 to 4 years old. And I became the director of that. And so I had to schedule people for 2 services a week, 2 people for each service. Oh my. So some Sundays, I didn't go to church at all,
Mm-hmm.
because I could go one service or the other if I was in the nursery. But some Sundays, I spent the whole time with the babies. But I loved it, Jordan. I just loved it. And I was there 7 years. And I attended classes, and I was just really plugged into the church. When I came here, I moved into my daughter's.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to my son-in-law, I said, I'm going to go, because she lived in the country. She still lives in the country.
Yep.
And when you come down the hill, there was that big church. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the place where Cedar Springs was originally, or back 20 years ago, when they first moved to the country, they made trailers there.
Mm-hmm.
I know it then became, somebody says, I don't know, when the church
Plumbing
bought
warehouse, I think, or something.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So my son-in-law said, Mom, you do not want to go to that church. There's a little church right on the corner. And I know the pastor he was Amanda's volleyball coach when she went to Cascade. And I think he's a really good man. He had never been to church there, but I know he's a really good man, and I think you'd enjoy him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know the story. I've been there, as long as I've lived I've been here probably 9.5, 10 years. And I quickly, because I signed up to work just in Sunday school.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knew me, but you did a background check, and so you're always hunting people for Sunday school.
That's right.
So I started in Sunday school, and then Justin said, CJ, Miles and Sandy are no longer able to do the food bank, and would you help me with the food bank? Yes, I will. And so a couple weeks later, I said, hey, I thought we were going to do the food bank. Okay. And so Sandy, who was really quite along in her dementia at that time, which is why Miles had to give it up, trained me. So that was interesting, is how to sign people in. But I got it. And I guess the rest of the story is pretty out there. If the doors are open, I'm in the church. I've worked where have I worked since I've been here? I've worked at Walmart. I worked at Nordstrom Rack for 3 years. Um, oh yeah, I've worked at the fair.
Yeah.
I did at the fair. I was at the booth, and I was also during Oktoberfest. I always worked the booth. I always worked the booth where you buy your ticket to get in.
Yep.
Because I could sit there, and it was it's a happy place to work. I had worked enough negativity that it's nice to work a happy place. When I worked at Walmart, I loved that because I worked in fabric.
Yeah.
And I love material. I like to feel it. I like to touch it. I like everything about fabric. So what else you want to know?
I think I maybe kind of talking through a couple of those thoughts. So I think one of the things that we've been talking about lately in church is sort of the importance of all of us. That this is the way that God designed the church is so that each person is a contributing member. I think sometimes there's some barriers in people's minds to that. I've had them, and I still do. I think we go through phases of life where we can be too busy. We can feel underqualified or unqualified for service in the church. We sometimes can feel like we are not good enough to be someone who is serving in the church and representing Christ. So I feel like it's sort of putting us up in a pedestal. Maybe you can talk about how you have experienced those, if you have, and sort of what has been the outcome of continuing to faithfully serve. Like you said, it seems like whenever the doors are open, we can count on CJ being there. And maybe what the value is. Is it the Bible talks a lot about how when we give faithfully, God gives to us. Can you speak to maybe sort of some of that, those concepts or themes?
The church is my family. The church Cedar Springs is going to be very, very, very difficult for me to leave because it is my family. The Lord has blessed me richly at the church. I have gotten to be in small groups. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to get to be in Sunday school with the kids, with the little kiddos. Those little kiddos can teach you. It's a privilege to have had Alexandra alongside me. Alexandra's like another adult. And I told them she should train. If they get somebody that's never taught Sunday school to replace me, Alexandra can train them in my place. The child is just great. God has worked richly in my life. He has given me peace. It's because I've learned to know him better because of the teaching of the church, the teaching within the church. So far as being qualified, the only qualification it takes is show up. That's all. That's the only qualification it takes. The Lord will work within you to give. I've not been qualified to do anything I've done. Nothing. It's just the Lord has worked within me. And when I go do these things, and then we've had the small groups, the teaching in the small group. The reason I always loved your small group is because there was homework. And homework is learning. and it's learning more about the Lord.
Yeah.
So that makes it very, very beneficial to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would think to anybody, however, we have some really knowledgeable people in the church.
Yeah.
We have some real Bible thumpers. I don't have the memory to be one. You're a Bible thumper. Jake is a Bible thumper. Good stuff. I mean, it's good, rich, honest Bible. It's not your interpretation necessarily as it is, this is what the book says. And you read it, this is what the book says. So that's good. God has worked richly on me through that. Tuesday nights when I'm there, it's just I just watch kids because of you. That's all I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Wednesday night is celebrate.
Yep.
Celebrate small group was most rewarding to me. And going on Wednesday, some of the testimonies make it, what they really do is let me know just how blessed I am,
Mm-hmm.
and how little, tiny my trials have been compared to some people's trials that they've overcome. I've
Mm-hmm.
done nothing. And so it's God pointing out to me just how richly he's given to me. Jordan, I'm one of the most blessed people in that church. The friendships I've made, the people I've met, you and your family, the queries. I could just go on and on and on and on. Marla, it just goes. Jake, why this current thing that we're doing, this apologetics.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that Jake has a lot of knowledge, but oh my goodness, he has a lot of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
He's a real learning
Mm-hmm.
port for me.
Mm-hmm.
And
For me
it's,
too.
you know, and one of the things that blesses me is I can say whatever. My filter is small and it's non-existent. Okay. And I say whatever I say to you. I can say whatever I say to Jake, and you still love me.
Mm-hmm.
What a blessing that is.
Yeah.
What a blessing that I can really bare my heart and be honest. And the people in the body, because it is a body and it is connected, and the leg bone connects to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone connects to the foot bone, connects within our body.
Mm-hmm.
And all people have to do, you don't make people join. It's a desire. It's a desire to know the Lord better. That's all it is.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I find interesting being in a church family, in a church body, is sort of someone had compared the visual of a church to being sort of a thread on a loom, where there are points in time where you as an individual thread are high. You're kind of being carried high by a thread that's underneath you. And then there are moments where you're the one who's going low to help pull another thread a little bit up. And in that moment of, we kind of weave together, we find these different people who are helping us carry each other and carry each other's burdens, and we're being carried at the same time. And we get woven together into a strong fabric. And I think that is one of the testimonies that I've seen from our small groups, where I think about the value, of the time that we've had together. And I think it's one of those things where it's I see I don't know if the comments always, like you said, you don't have a filter. And so I don't think you always think about what you're saying. And I think about how good God is through that, where your words, I think sometimes are off the cuff, but they are an encouragement that I've needed. And I know other people have needed in our small groups and our get-togethers, where the lack of filter is something God designed for us to have in our church. And so it's a real blessing, and it's sort of miraculous. I think it's a testimony to a good God that we have you with us, and we've had you with us, and I think it's a real blessing. I guess maybe kind of a closing couple of questions or thoughts. I mean, what are some exhortations you would give to us as your church family? What are some things that you would encourage us in and with? What are some thoughts that you think have been maybe, God has been speaking to you, the Spirit has been speaking to you, that you think are worth sharing with all of us? And this will be recorded, so it'll be available for perpetuity. So maybe generations of Cedar Springers to come, even past my time. What would be some thoughts that you would share? I mean, just your personal, what the Holy Spirit has been witnessing to you, maybe.
The peace of God, this move I'm making, I prayed a lot about. I really prayed a lot about, because it's a huge move. And I'm really too old to make a move like this. And let me tell you, every day I learn it better. But I have complete peace about it. And one of the things I would have to say is the Philippians 4, I think it's 8 and 9. I just read through Philippians. Philippians 4 is one, it's probably my favorite. It's not a whole book. Philippians is probably my favorite book, but it's the most encouraging book, I think. And it's I love Philippians 4, 8, and 9, where it says, because it's the peace it gives. And it's, it's when things get chaotic in your life, think of things that are beautiful, that are, you put yourself in a place, the most beautiful place you can think of. Close your eyes and think of that, and think of what the Lord has made in that place. And that's nothing but peaceful. It is the garden in your mind. So I think that would be the most encouraging, because I think peace is what we lack the most. And all the Lord asks is surrender. That's all he asks. And that is to give up power is really a difficult thing. People want, it's not power, it's control. I want to control. I want to control. I don't want to control anything. And I'm sure you know that about me. I'm sure that you have seen. I don't want to control a dang thing. I can't even control my own self. I certainly don't want to try to control anything else. So someone that can't control their mouth can't. Yeah. So that Philippians, I just think that, and Philippians 4:13, through God, you can do anything. There's nothing you can't do if you trust in the Lord. You can climb any mountain if you trust in the Lord. And it's just relinquishing that control. That would be the most encouraging thing I could say to anybody, is relinquish that control. You don't need it. And yours isn't as good as what you can, as the Lord's. It isn't going to work as well. It isn't, the outcome won't be as good.
Yeah.
The hurt will be greater.
Yeah. You said something. You said, we all struggle to give up power. And I think there's sort of a theme in our society right now to step into your power and to take possession of it and to sort of establish ourselves as our own mini gods over our own life. And I think you're right, is that, like you said, it doesn't end well when we can't be trusted to control our own tongues, and we somehow want to control everything else. That doesn't go very well.
We just aren't trustworthy as humans. The Lord let the Lord orchestrate. You're in much better hands, much better hands. And I can't tell you I always do.
Yeah.
That would be a lie.
Yeah.
Because I get in my own way a lot.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Well, CJ, I want to say thank you for the time and the conversation this morning. More than that, again, you're one of those people who are a gift, and I know you don't always feel that way, but your witness in this church and in my life has been just such a gift, and so I thank you for that, and I hope that I can be a little bit more like you, and I hope that we all can see. I know we all can see our Savior in you, and so
I love him, Jordan, with all my heart.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that shows. I think it's an excellent. We've been talking a lot about being a witness and being salty and being a light, and you have walked in such a way where I think in this church family, you have shown us what it looks like to be like him in a lot of ways, and so I would commend you with that, and I can't say thank you enough for that message and that ministry that you've given to Cedar Springs as a family.
I can't say thank you enough to Cedar Springs. Cedar Springs has blessed me so richly.
Yeah. Yep. It's a body. We there's an exchange that's happening at all times. All right. Well, I will sign off. We will expect when we get settled in Sun City and you have a place with a pool, we'll all come and visit. We'll take a rotation at CJ's new place.
I would love it. I would love it.
Very good. All right. I love you, CJ, and we'll see you soon. Yep. Okay. It's a competition now. Outdo one another in showing good and showing honor. I think that's a struggle I'm willing to have with you.
Okay.